Hello, everyone, and welcome. And we are very privileged today to have somebody from the public sector talking to us in South Africa. LIESEL Kostlich is Executive Manager for Entrepreneurship and Cooperative Development in the services sector. LIESEL has been involved in the public sector and various entities for a number of years. And in her early 30s, she even started a nonprofit. So this is a lady who believes in doing the right thing. She has a very, very dynamic personality. She is very structured in her way of doing things. And we are very privileged that she took time out on a Saturday to share with us her views and her experiences of women empowerment. LIESEL, welcome.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for that kind introduction. I really appreciate it.
I know it's a Saturday, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I'd just like to ask you, in the experience that you've had in the various entities that you've worked in, and being someone who likes to do things right and who believes and does it no matter what have you noticed? I mean, women empowerment has been around for over 70 years. In your experience in the industries that you have worked, what have you noticed has shifted and changed regarding women empowerment?
So, Charlotte, I think firstly for me, empowering women as a collective would require some kind of deliberate action, some kind of program of action that is far supersedes commemorating National Women's Day. It's something that needs to be ongoing and that needs to be embraced, and there needs to be a force behind it in order to make changes in terms of women empowerment in the workplace. And I can say that I've never come across such collective action in a planned and structured way. So for me, there's a gap, and I haven't seen change. And as a result of that, I think in my experience over the past 25 years, truthfully, I've seen more bad experiences than good of women in leadership and women in positions of power and decision-making. And that for me has been a learning path. It's been part of my own journey and my learning. I have adopted a mantra as an outcome of that, which is, we are how we treat others. I am how I treat others, and you are how you treat others. And I think the behavior and the choices that we make, because ultimately we choose how we behave, is what drives this mantra for me. And so it's what you see in how people behave that make them an inspiring, motivational leader. And sadly, I think women have come into a space which has been male dominated. They've learned behaviors that, in terms of being in power, that is not traditional or innate. And they've adopted these behaviors, and in some instances behave worse than men in power. And I think that that's a sad truth and reality that I've experienced. And at the same time, I have seen many good examples and worked with many inspiring, phenomenal women and men, if I can say that. So for me, whenever I get into a situation where I'm frustrated or impatient or angry, I say the mantra to myself: we are how we treat others. You are how you treat others, and I am how I treat others. And I think that for me has been, it's been something recent. It's not something that I've carried for 10 years. It's a new mantra that I use for myself when I get into a situation of discomfort. And that I just remind myself that I am how other people see me. And I used to have the mantra of put yourself in someone else's shoes, but actually that's not good enough. I think you need to see what other people see, not always put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think if we can find a way to do both of those things, then perhaps we will see the change that we want to see.
That's very important, what you've just said, what we want to see, the change we want to see. I don't want to be a man. I don't want to be in a man's world and be a man. I want to be me, And yeah. I think that women have often felt that they needed to, rightfully so, what you've said is that they need to compare with what we only know. And we are busy redefining that. In that space of redefining it, who have you seen as your role model or role models on women empowerment?
So in fact, my first role model was actually my father. And I think he's instilled a lot of principles and values in me and how I behave, which can be to my detriment sometimes. But I think he was had a high level of self-discipline. Fairness and ethics was high on the priority list. And I was reflecting this morning when you asked me to do this talk, is to say, I was reflecting that he had a sense of humor. And I really think that that's part of his weaponry, you know, that made him get through life the way he did. But I've met many people along the way. I can't say I've had one single mentor thereafter. My mother is one of my mentors, but I think I've met many people who have touched me and made a mark. And sometimes it's a deliberate conversation, and other times it's a passing comment that I then go back and reflect on and digest. And it helps me to then adopt or change my own behavior. And, you know, often people say that empowerment is within, but I think it's more than that. I think it's realizing that you cannot operate on your own, that there is a dependency with others, and that actually success is about surrounding yourself with people who are capable and competent. And in order to get them to follow you, you need to be inspiring and positively motivate. You cannot instill fear and use your authority to get people to create and share that same vision and achieve success. So I do think it requires a level of maturity, insight, and vision that recognizes that you cannot achieve success on your own. So even if you had all the internal workings of maturity, of, you know, foresight, you're still not going to be successful, because actually globally and as a universe, we're interdependent and we need each other. And so we need to find a way to inspire that positive behavior and to achieve that collective future. And what we see might be different through each one of our eyes. So for me, coming back to the role model, you know, I think that my nanny, who's been with us since my child was born, and he's 12, she is one of my mentors. She cares for us. She works hard. She works very hard. And she's loving and she's kind. That's for me as a mentor. So a mentor isn't always somebody who's in a position of power and influence. A mentor for me is somebody who exemplifies the behavior that I want to adopt, and that can inspire me to be the very best version that I can be. And it's really hard sometimes. Circumstances don't, you know, they test us repeatedly. And it's really hard in the moment to behave the way in which you want to behave.
Exquisite, exquisite, beautifully put, beautifully put. Thank you for leveling the playing field in many ways. That's beautiful. And going forward, what would you advise, recommend, suggest that you give any woman coming up through the ranks, any men that are supporting them? What would you put out there in your industry specifically?
So I think the first one is humanity. Like, you know, be humane in how you deal with people. Be kind. Nobody wants to be in a negative environment. And nobody wants to suffer occupational detriment. I think that you need to be kind and nurturing and developing. And it goes beyond treating others how you want to be treated, because we all come from different frames of reference. You know, it goes far beyond that. So be kind would be my first one. And then be inspiring. Find the passion within yourself and try and encourage others to find their passion, their inner passion. And then look at where the commonality lies and create something that's mutual. And then strive towards that. So be inspiring. Be the best version of inspiring that you can be. I would also say be informed. You know, we live in a digital age. Information is at our fingertips. And all too often, people are not making use of that. They're not going online. I love Googling. I'm like, if I can't Google it and find an answer in 3 minutes, then you've lost me, you know. So I love YouTube and I love Googling and I love clips. But definitely there is information. Sometimes it's hard to filter that information and find credibility in the information, but I think you must trust your instincts around that. But you need to look. And so be informed, because I think that will give you the courage, and it will give you, you know, the credibility in terms of inspiring and influencing others. And if you don't know, be honest. Just say, I don't know, let me go and look at that one. Or, so be honest. And then I think my last thing to say is reflect. Don't always act in the moment. I think we need to reflect on who we are, how others see us, and how we want to be seen by others. Because we don't operate in our own world or on an island. We operate as a collective. And I think that can breed unity, specifically within women. Sorry, I've thought of one other one that I want to throw in, is that ask what you can do. That saying, it's not, how does that saying going, Charlotte? But it's not what you can do, what others can do for you, but ask what you can. I can't remember that exact saying.
Yes.
But it really is meaningful to say, if I'm expecting something from someone else, what is my contribution? Because with power and authority comes responsibility. And so and wherever you are in life, there's something that you need to contribute and to get some kind of return. And I think it needs to be something that we ask ourselves, what can I do in order to receive what I'm seeking to achieve?
The expression is, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country.
Country, correct. Yes.
I had to this instance,
yes, no, that's great. And in this instance, it's what you can do for yourself and for others, and then what others will do for you. And I think that I'm going to end it on that. There's so many lessons we learn, and learning in the journey never ends.
And it's only when we get to our mid to late 40s that we start recognizing the shift and the change and what we've learned. The rest of the time, we're just learning, we're just having a laugh, and it's just what it is.
For me, exactly. For me, you can reflect on, I reflect now in decades. I think when you're close to 50, you tend to do that. What did I do in my 40s? What did I do in my 30s, my 20s? And then what do I want to do in my 50s? And where do I want to be? And you might not know exactly where that is, but I think that if you know who you want to be and how you want to behave and the choices that you can make, because I think ultimately everything in life is a choice, even though you feel constrained by circumstances. I mean, look at COVID-19 and our current circumstances, exceptionally difficult. And we have choices within that, choices to help our neighbor. And I'm sure many people are taking what they have and making it stretch much further than what they did 4 months ago. So times have shifted. And so I do believe in that principle of pay it forward, contributing to the greater good, recognizing your role in that. And, you don't even have to share it. It's just something within yourself that you're doing and a difference that you're making, and whether that difference is small, and what the ripple effect is of that difference. But I do think it's about choice and recognizing and exploring what those choices are and trying to break free from circumstances that you're in. And sometimes it's also perseverance. Sometimes you're there, you haven't found your purpose or your reason, and you need to fulfill something before you can then move on. But I think that ultimately we do make choices for different reasons, and circumstances do sometimes constrain us, but we need to find a way to either then change the circumstances and fulfill our real purpose. I think that's what we would all want, is to feel fulfilled and that we've achieved what we've set out to and what we meant to achieve.
And I'm hearing a book waiting to be written from you.
I often wish I could just put a microchip in my brain and download, because it's sometimes when you're sleeping, not in a deep sleep, or when you're showering, it's that kind of monotonous, continuous period of beyond 20 minutes where you get into a deep, innovative and thinking space. I often wish I could just download what I'm thinking, and I could have published many books. That would be great. It takes discipline and hard work to publish something like that. So maybe, yes, maybe.
LIESEL, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Most appreciative. It has been authentic, refreshing, and thank you for your honesty.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Charlotte. And goodbye, and good wishes to everybody who's finding their path and their journey.
Thank you.